like the league year break during the show. It's happened before. It will probably happen again. This is the 344th straight day that I have come to you live. Well, not necessarily all live, but with new Seahawks content every single day. We are charging towards 365 straight days. That will come up later this month. So I'm trying to make some plans, celebrate that with all of you. I'll keep you abreast of all of those changes and what's going to happen, and the announcements, I guess I should say. That's all coming up. So I wanted to before, because honestly, I was confused about, oh, people are saying I'm frozen. Okay, I guess things are back. Let me know. Let me know if you're having problems with seeing or hearing me. Always good to get that feedback live so we avoid wasting all of our time. But yeah, looks like we're good. So, and somewhat surprisingly, the Seahawks have not made any moves yet. There has not been an announcement. Yesterday, we started seeing news of players getting released. The Bengals released Alex Kappa, guard. We saw that T. Higgins was franchise tagged. We saw, we've heard Trey Smith has been franchise tagged. And today, to be very clear, today at 10 a.m. Pacific time is the deadline to franchise tag players in the NFL. And I don't expect any Seahawks players to be franchise tagged. I can't imagine who that would be that they would franchise tag, but that's not going to be an issue for Seattle. I would say that the fact that there have been some players like T. Higgins and Trey Smith franchise tagged is going to have an impact on the Seahawks. That is, fewer players in the market. It is potentially more demand for players at that position, and that can have effect on players on the Seahawks roster. It can have effect on players that the Seahawks want to add to their roster. So looks like folks are still having some problems with video. If you can, it sounds like folks are saying if they leave and come back or refresh your screen, that can change everything. So hopefully that's working for folks, but little I can do at this point. So what I wanted to do today is take a few minutes and share before all the news breaks what I think is going to happen. And so I'm going to go through and go after each guy that I think there's a potential change related to their position on the roster. And I'll go through where I think things are. Eager to hear from all of you, what your thoughts are and where you disagree, where you do agree. And we'll kind of go through this together because I think there's going to be potentially a lot of news this week for the Seahawks. All right, so let's head over to the first such prediction. I've spent a little bit more time on my thumbnails the last couple days. Hopefully that's fun for you all. Staring just at my face is probably a challenge for people that tune in every single day. So let's see what happens here. All right. First name is not a name that a lot of people are talking about, but George Fant was signed to a 2-year deal last year. I absolutely adore George Fant. He's a great guy. He's respected in the locker room. He's respected in the front office. The only reason he actually even kind of came to the Seahawks was that John Schneider happened to run into him, I think, at the bathroom at a horse race, the horse race last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, and said, hey, give me a ring before you hang it up. And he ends up coming back to Seattle, but never could get healthy. I mean, from the opening preseason game, dealt with injuries and stayed injured essentially the whole season. I think it was a really wise move to get a swing tackle, a veteran swing tackle, to kind of give themselves a plan B, a safety net in case Abe Lucas was not able to come back. Unfortunately, Abe Lucas was not able to come back for a while, and they still weren't able to have their safety net because George Fant also got hurt. So George Fant is someone who would be due his cap number would be 5.65 million if he were to stay with the Seahawks, and they could save 3.8 million against the cap by by releasing him. So I think it's a very good bet that George Fant at nearly 4 million in cap savings is not going to remain with the team. I wish him the best. My best guess is he's going to retire, but we will find out soon about George Fant. So that is first prediction on this list. And if you want to kind of play along, that's $4 million, or to be specific, $3.8 million in cap savings. Next, Rashawn Jenkins. This should come as no surprise. The safety who the Seahawks signed to a 2-year deal last year has already been given permission to seek a trade. I do not expect them to find a suitor for a trade. I expect them to just have to outright release him. His salary or his cap number this year would be $7.78 million, but his cap savings would be $5.3 million. If you want to get very specific, $5.28 million. So I expect him to also be released this week, and that would bring you to, if you want 5.3, and let's call it easier, let's call it 4 with George Fant. You're talking about essentially 9 million, a little over 9 million in cap savings just between those two. All right. So Rashawn Jenkins will leave a gap at safety. That's an opportunity for a guy like Jarek Reed. It's an opportunity for a draft pick. It's an opportunity for a lot of different options. But I think that it does not make sense to keep Rashawn Jenkins at that cap number to be a third safety. So that is your second player, George Fant, Rashawn Jenkins, both released. And this is where it gets a little hard and painful, right? Tyler Lockett, I kind of been holding out some belief that the Seahawks might re-sign him to a new deal. Based off of my reading John Schneider's body language, Mike McDonald's tone and body language, I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to make the decision to move on from Tyler Lockett. This will save them $17 million in cap space. And so now you're talking about essentially $26 million cleared in these first 3 moves, a little bit more than that. And what this will mean is I think they're ready for Jake Bobo to take a larger role in this offense as a third receiver, as a good blocker who it's very important in this offense, and be part of the 21 and 12 personnel at times as one of the only 2 receivers on the field. So I think Jake Bobo will get some more time. I think Cody White may be somebody that they believe has earned more snaps. So, and then there might be younger players that they add, or receivers that they add later on. So I think the time has come for Tyler Lockett to bid adieu to Seattle. He has said he wants to play another year. If he does, I think the Raiders are certainly a likely destination, knowing what Pete Carroll knows about him. There's a couple other places that could make some sense. The Chiefs could make some sense, honestly, for a guy like Tyler Lockett. We'll see what happens with Tyler Lockett. I have a feeling that he is no longer going to be a Seahawk. So that is my prediction with Tyler Lockett with a heavy heart. Now, Uchenna Nwosu, that is our next guy on the list. Uchenna Nwosu is, let's see, is this the last year of his deal? Let me double check that. It is not the last year of his deal. He is signed through 2026. Okay. He's 29 years old. He obviously has had a lot of injuries, and my expectation is that they are going to restructure Uchenna Nwosu's deal. What that would mean in terms of cap savings, hard to say. I think with Uchenna, it could clear up around $6.6 million with kind of a standard restructure. And that could make some sense. They could ask him to take a pay cut. I'm not sure he would do that. And there might be a little bit of poker going on between the Seahawks and Uchenna Nwosu about whether or not he would get more money if he was cut and signed as a free agent elsewhere or whether he stuck around. They haven't really had a chance to see him. I think they're very high on their two young edge rushers, Boye Mafe and Derek Hall. And I don't know that they feel that keeping Uchenna Nwosu is a necessity. I do believe they think it would be preferred. So I think they're going to try to get a deal done. I think they're going to end up restructuring in some way. And if they can't come to an agreement, then I do think there's a chance that they could move on from him. I don't think that's not what I'm predicting. I'm predicting that they're going to restructure him, but there's a chance here. There is a chance that Uchenna Nwosu is not a Seahawk after this week. So that's one to watch. But for right now, I'm predicting that they are going to restructure his deal. Let's call it, $6.5 million in savings there. So now you're talking about it was $26 million for the first three. Now you're up to about $33 million, let's call it, with Uchenna Nwosu as a restructure. So $33 million cleared by these first few moves. Okay, next. Dre'Mont Jones. The Dre'Mont Jones. Now, this one's going to be controversial. And look, this could go so many ways. This is the one I stared at the longest when I was prepping for the show today. I did big time prep for you all. This is hours and hours of prep. And what I mean by hours and hours, I really mean a few minutes. So I looked at Dre'Mont Jones, and for me, he seems like a square peg in a round hole for this defense. I don't think the plan that they had for him last year, I don't think it came to fruition. He did have like the fourth most pressures on this team last year. I think people don't realize that he was rather productive. They were able to play him inside. They asked him to play outside, but when there were some injuries, they asked him to play a little bit inside. I'm just not sure that they really know what to do with him. And so I thought for a while, I was like, well, maybe they'll just release him. Then I was thinking, honestly, the thing that I was really reflecting on is, are they going to trade him? Is there somebody who will want him? I know a lot of Seahawks fans are, man, this guy's not good. He's good. He's a good player. I think he's miscast in this defense, but I think pretty much there's 32 NFL teams that would want to have Dre'Mont Jones on their defensive line. And so I'm curious, do they find a trade partner? Is that a quiet conversation that's going on right now? If they were to trade Dre'Mont Jones, they would save $11.5 million in cap space. Plus, they would, potentially get some draft capital back. What kind of draft picks do I think they could get? I think like a conditional fifth that could become a fourth if it's a next year pick. If not, I think a fourth round pick is probably the highest you could get. And realistically, I think you're probably talking about a fifth round pick at best for Dre'Mont Jones. So I don't think you're going to get a big return, but you would clear some cap space. Ultimately, where I ended up is I think that they're going to restructure him. I think they're going to say, hey, we don't have the production we want, but our coaches really think highly of you and think that there's a lot to offer. And we know the cap is going to keep going up. So we're going to push some of your money into the future to save some cap space this year. And if they restructure Dre'Mont Jones, that would be nearly $10 million in cap savings. So I think, you only save like an extra $2 million by cutting him. I think restructuring makes sense. And I think that gets you, again, nearly $10 million more. So what did I say before? 33 million saved so far. Add another 10 million to that. So you're at 43 million saved if they restructure Dre'Mont Jones. All right. Next. Now, everyone's assuming Robertson-Harris is going to get cut. And here's where I will agree with the sentiment. He has no guaranteed money, $0 in dead money if you cut him. He has 6.6 million due, or that you could save in cap space by releasing him. He's not. They're not going to pay him 6.6. I guarantee you, they're not going to pay him 6.6. But I think Roy Robertson-Harris was a meaningful part of what started to shore up the run defense for the Seahawks. I think he is does the dirty work on a defensive line that I think people appreciate. I think people in that locker room respect him for what kind of physical freak he is. Super strong guy. I think he has a role on this team. And so my expectation is, and I also think he and his wife really liked it here, for what it's worth. I think that they're going to come to an agreement on a much smaller deal. I think it could be, $2 million a year instead of 6.6. And we'll see if he decides to take that, whether he decides to hit free agency. But as of right now, I'm predicting basically a renegotiation of his contract. And the way this could work, they could cut him, let him go through free agency, and then bring him back at a smaller number if he doesn't get the price he wants in free agency. Ultimately, I think he's going to be back on this team, and I think he's going to be, on this team for a smaller number. So I'm going to say, because it's hard to predict what that number will be, I'm going to say it's going to be around, let's say $2.5 million for Roy Robertson-Harris. That would mean a $4 million cap savings if they did that. That would mean that, and depending on if they did a multi-year deal, I'm guessing they're just going to do a one-year deal. So let's say they save $4 million. And so what did I say? They're up to $43 million. So that would make it $47 million that they would have saved by this point with the moves I've projected so far. Next, Noah Fant. So this is the thing. I would move on from him. I wouldn't even hesitate. It's a $9 million cap savings last year of his deal. I don't think he's worth what he's getting paid. I don't think he's good enough as a blocker. Now, Mike McDonald, who knows a hell of a lot more about football than I ever will, when I kind of asked him that, really disagreed and feels like that he's a complete tight end. All the signs I'm seeing is that they are fond of Noah Fant. They believe in him. They're not going to move on from him. I don't think they're going to ask him to change his contract. It's possible. It's probably more likely that they restructure his deal and tack on some void years to push money into the future than that he gets cut. I don't think actually they can really, I'm looking at it now. I'm not sure they can even do that because this is the final year of his deal. They'd have to extend him. And so, God, I hope they don't do that. If they were to extend him, they could save about $6 million in cap space. I don't think that's what's going to happen. So I am predicting right now that he is going to stick around at his same cap number with no change. So again, these are not the moves I would make necessarily. These are the moves I'm predicting that the Seahawks will make. So this is a very good example of not what I would do, but I think this is what the Seahawks are going to do. So we're still at, what did I say? 47 million after the Roy Robertson-Harris. Keep up with me if help me keep track and keep me honest if I said something different. All right, so Noah Fant, no change. Next. The man, the myth, the legend, Geno Smith. I am predicting that they will extend Geno Smith. I don't think that that's going out too far on a limb. But this is kind of a prediction of what I think will happen before the league year. And that's why I've got this little asterisk there, because I thought it was kind of surprising news that the first time John Schneider was going to have heard from Geno's camp about his kind of price was going to be last week. And it just feels to me like maybe it's going to be, a lot is going to have to come together in a short amount of time. And if John Schneider did make a point to say there's not a deadline to get this deal done, he's under contract. All that's true. It's also, him, playing the leverage game and posturing a little bit. There is a deadline if you want to get you want to hear what you could clear in terms of cap space by extending Geno Smith? $24 million. That one move. You clear $24 million in cap space this year with an extension. That's huge for the Seahawks. Now, I've shown you that they don't necessarily need to do that in order to get under the cap and have a pretty significant amount of cap room to spend in free agency. They already have plenty based on what I've told you. They could go hard after Drew Dalman with just the moves I've told you so far. All right? So the reason I have an asterisk is I have this sneaking suspicion that Geno Smith's deal is not going to get done this week. That they're going to get into free agency. The Seahawks are going to make other moves. And I think there's going to be a little bit of posturing back and forth before this deal gets done. I think Geno is not happy with the fact that he was paid so little and was not given a new deal last year before the season. I think that the Seahawks want to pay him, but they're not going to give him $50 million a year. Again, I think this is going to ultimately be between $40 and $45 million per year. And it's just a matter of when they sign him to that extension. I don't think it's an if. I think it's a when. So I think this could get a little bit messy. And that's why I'm predicting that they're going to sign him an extension, but I'm going to lean towards that it's not going to happen this week. And that the reason that it won't happen this week is because it will give the Seahawks a little bit more leverage of showing that they didn't blink. That, yes, we got into the league year. Yes, we know we could have cleared $24 million in cap space and we could spend it on other players. But so what? We're not going to go over our number for you. And that's how this is going to work. And part of the reason they could afford to do that, besides what I just showed you in terms of the money they could already save, is that they may not need that money, that cap space, until they start doing other extensions, like for maybe they look at Reek Woolen. Maybe they look at, I don't think they're going to do Charles Cross. I think they're going to do a 5th-year option on him. But there's some of the 2022 draft class that they could start extending that would potentially increase their cap numbers this year. I think a lot of it would push it out. But, you've got a guy like, Kenneth Walker, who is going to count $2.6 million against the cap this year. A new deal might raise that cap number. So we'll just see. We'll see on that front. But I think this is my current prediction, is that Geno will be extended, but I think it's going to push past this week. All right. Next, DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf also could be extended. I don't get the sense that they're going to do it this week. And as I've said to you guys before, last time Geno and DK were up for an extension, Geno got done March 6th, which would be 2 days from now. And DK didn't get done till June. I think it's going to be something similar this year. Now, DK, when he's extended, you could clear another $13 to $14 million in cap space. So it's possible they could decide to do that now. But I think they're going to wait. And I do think he will be extended. So, lots of back and forth on this. Is he going to be traded? Is he going to be extended? For what it's worth, if he was traded, you'd save around $11 million in cap space, not to mention the money for the extension down the road. So it's possible. As I've said before, continue to say, I don't think it's going to happen. Even though I could make the argument, again, this is not what I would do. This is what I think they will do. I would absolutely be exploring trades for DK Metcalf. And the reality is, I don't think that's going to happen. And I even though I would explore those trades, I'm not sure I would do those trades unless they were really compelling. So This is where I think the Seahawks are. I think they will extend him, but I do not think it will happen this week. All right. So we're still at, what did I say, 47 million. So that kind of concludes the list of guys. Is there anyone else that I didn't mention that you guys think I should mention that they could make a move with this week? Other names, there really was, I mean, Anthony Bradford, could they do something there? Sure, but it would only save you like $800,000 if you cut him. I don't think that's likely. Sam Howell, they could save $1 million if they cut him. I don't think that's going to happen. So, you can kind of go down. I kind of went through every guy that I think there's a reasonable chance that they could do something with and gave you what I think is going to happen. So let's go through it one more time because I know everyone, some people come in earlier, some people come in later. George Fant, released. Rashawn Jenkins, released. Tyler Lockett, released. Uchenna Nwosu, I think he's going to stick around. I think they're going to restructure the deal. Dre'Mont Jones, I think they're going to restructure the deal. I think he's going to stick around. This one, to me, was the hardest. I will just say again, I feel the least confident of all these in my Dre'Mont Jones take. I think he could be traded. I think he could be cut. Almost a third possibility there. But right now I'm predicting he's going to be back and he's going to have his deal restructured. On Roy Robertson-Harris, I think he is going to stick around for a lower price. I think Fant is going to stick around. No change to his contract. I think Geno is going to be extended, but I don't think it will happen this week. And DK, I think, is going to get extended, but not this week. So that's what I have. I heard in chat that people said Brady Henderson had a different prediction for Geno. I'd love to hear it. So if somebody can write in chat what you heard from Mr. Brady Henderson. Brady's really well connected, and Brady is someone I really respect in that when he reports something, it's been verified, and he generally only reports things that are real news. So I think I'll reach out to Brady myself, but if someone can share in chat what he said, I'd be interested to hear. Curious if there's any of those that I shared that you guys see really differently, and if so, why? Would love to hear that from you. And no, shots are not fired. Gosh darn it. I mean, I'm complimenting Brady. Let me talk about this for a second because I keep getting these comments. I have shared my thoughts about the Corbin Smith report on the DK Metcalf trade stuff. People are taking that to mean that I am attacking Corbin directly or more broadly. I'm not. I am doing two things. One, I'm being very specific that kind of report is a report that I think is mainly driven to drive clicks and is not real news. So it's not a report I particularly like. Doesn't mean that you can't do it. All sorts of people do it. But when it's something that you can be right and you can be wrong, like basically that you can't be wrong is the way to say it. That like if it happens, you can say, well, I told you it could happen. And if it doesn't happen, you say, well, I never said it was going to happen. I just said that they were talking. It's like, that's not news to me. And I think that's not super valuable. So that particular style or that particular type of information, I'm just sharing that it's not something that I find particularly valuable. And I generally kind of look at that and say, okay, that's not the highest quality of reporting. That doesn't mean that everything that Corbin does is bad. Corbin does a show 5 days a week. He's been credentialed for a long time. He puts out tons of content, written and video. Super hard worker, student of the game. Like, Corbin does his job. Like, he does his job, and I know he works really hard at it and takes a lot of pride in it. So if everything he did was that, then yeah, I would probably be attacking Corbin. But in this case, I thought that was not I thought that that was kind of an opportunistic bit of information that everyone else has taken and run with. Like, look, there's other groups. Even when I was on with Brock and Salk yesterday, I think they kept talking about it. Brock says, I think there's some smoke there. Maybe. I I think that people need to drive engagement. That's not particularly. It's not particularly. Believe it or not, that's not my focus. Like, I love when the show gets engagement. I love that we're growing. I love all that. But I don't sit here and think like, what's the thing I could do that would get people to click and come over here? I do try to think about like what would be quality, what I want to hear, what do I believe in. So, what you'll always hear from me is like my interpretation of things related to the Seahawks. And when I see people put stuff out there that potentially then gets spun out of control, I just I'll say something about it. So if people want to take that as a personal attack, I guess that's your choice. I don't see it that way. And frankly, I mean, every one of us that does this, puts ourselves out in the public light. You're gonna get some criticism now and then. I certainly have, and I certainly will in the future. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to offer on that front. No, so I'm just um, seeing one thing. Now here's where there's smoke and fire. So David Pankey says Brady Henderson this morning says Will Fries is as a guy to keep an eye on. I was on with Brock and Salk yesterday, and that was the free agent I mentioned as a alternative. Like, if you don't get Drew Dahlman, I think he's the other guy that makes sense to me as a young veteran presence that knows, can be a really effective zone blocker. He'll be a guard. I don't think he has center in his background, but we can look that up and check. I think he's a totally fine fallback if Drew Dahlman is not somebody that that the Seahawks are able to nail. So let's see. Okay, David says he believes. I think he's assuming Geno. He would agree to a deal. His predictions: 3-year, $102 million, $36 million signing bonus. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I think of all my predictions, that's probably maybe the Dre'Mont Jones, but the one that Geno Smith might not sign this week is the most speculative. That is like reading tea leaves of tea leaves. Like, it's just an instinct. But if he signs this week, great. I think that would be really good news, and it would not shock me. But I'm gonna predict, for the reasons I did, that maybe it'll take a little bit longer to sign on the dotted line, and we'll see. Now, if they do that deal this week, then you go take that $47 million that I told you that they would have saved, and you add $23 million to that. You're talking at $70 million in caps, like in saved cap space, and I think, given where you are right now with the cap, you are $7 million over. So you get to like $63 million in cap space if they did all of those moves that we talked about, plus the Geno move. So I think that's a pretty good set of moves to happen quickly, and would give the team a lot of flexibility with what they did next. All right. Wait a second. Corbin said that a whole bunch of teams are calling about Lakin? Oh, this is a joke. I'm like, Lakin Tomlinson's not on the team. He's a free agent. So, sorry. I think that was just meant to be a joke about Corbin. I didn't mean to publicize that, but I was confused. Yeah. So, this is why, by the way, everyone's like, oh, our cap space, we're in big trouble. I just haven't worried about it. There's so many easy moves to make that the Seahawks can take to really free things up. So that's kind of where things are. I think plenty of space to make big moves. And as Jeff Simmons has said on the show before, they have a lot of guys under contract already. Even if you get rid of some of the folks we mentioned, they don't have to go out and spend, like, spread it out across a bunch of different players between their draft picks and free agency. They can kind of focus on a few big additions. So, um, yeah, I think I'm eager to see this news break as soon as possible, and we'll talk about it as soon as it does. Now, with that, I think we're gonna do take some time. What I wanted to do here is, one, I'm gonna take a drink of water because uh, my voice is getting dry here. Okay, I'm back. So I wanted to do a few different mocks using different sims. Okay. So I'm going to do probably at least three mocks. I might do four using the different sims, and we're going to go one through the next, and just see how that goes. Um, and let me go ahead and pull up which mock draft sim am I going to do first. I think I might do NFL Draft Buzz. Um, let's do NFL Draft Buzz first. And then we'll do mock draft database. Then we'll do Pro Football Network. And if time, we will do PFF. All right. So here we go with some mock drafts. Before I do that, let me get to some super chats. Bryce Coots has given away another 10 Hawk Blogger memberships. Thank you so much, Bryce, for doing this. Really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you. If you want one of these free memberships, all you got to do is like the show, watch the show, engage with the show, and YouTube decides who gets them. So the more that you're engaged, the more likely you're going to get one of these free memberships. And if you get one of these, really consider upgrading to club level or higher. That will get you access to all the members only video content and other things. So, and also I prioritize those questions to be answered. So try to do that and you won't regret it. And then Super Sauce XL, who's been a member for 10 months. Love it, Super Sauce. Says, love the show. Hope the Hawks lock down Geno ASAP. Well, appreciate you sticking with me for 10 months, Super Sauce. Really, really appreciate it. Be like Super Sauce. Be a member for 10 months, man. Love it. Be cool in like years. People be member for like 5 years or something? Would be amazing. All right. So let's go ahead and do a mock draft, folks. Are you ready for this? I'm ready for this. I want to see where the different sims are. I have not done this. I have not used all of these since the new news from the combine has been out. So let's get started. We're going to make this a 7-round mock. We're going to make it go really fast. We're going to make it less random. Going to allow computer trades. Do the Spielberger trade chart, and we're going to take the Seahawks. All right. Let's do this. Here we are. Start draft. Zoop. All right. Interesting. They got Landon Jackson going pretty early. Let's see what they've got so far. Abdul Carter, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Kelvin Banks, Mason Graham, Shedeur. Let's take a moment on Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when I was on with Brock and Salk yesterday, I was running through a bunch of things and mentioned that I think Shedeur, might slip out of the first round. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. That seems like big news. And it is news. I just don't care. That's why, like, in my brain, like, talk about how I'm not driven for engagement. I could have absolutely tweeted out and written a story and done a show about why Shedeur Sanders is going to fall. I could have done a show about why the Seahawks could pick Shedeur Sanders. In my mind, I don't think he's a player the Seahawks should take. I can tell you why. I heard from a number of people that I respect at the combine that he is in trouble in terms of if one of the New York teams don't pick him, I think there's a real chance he could slip to the second round. He is a guy that a lot of fans are high on because of his name. Teams are not as high as fans are. It's kind of the opposite with guys like Quinn Ewers, from what I understand. And then also, this is a guy that does not have a strong arm. This is a guy that gets sacked a lot, holds on to the ball a lot. But because he is not an elite athlete, you've got a guy that holds on to the ball, but also can't escape the pocket and also does not have a strong arm. So he can't, like, in a quick release, he can't, like, fit the ball into tight spaces. You think about Russell Wilson. Russell holds onto the ball forever, but Russell was a great athlete and could escape and create. That's not who Shedeur Sanders is. So I don't think he is a great athlete. I don't think he's a great processor. I think there's a chance he could be real trouble to get a lot of sacks, a lot of negative plays, and have limits with what he can do with his arm. And I think a lot of NFL teams see that. I think other NFL teams, from what I heard, they didn't respect the fact that he had chances to throw at the combine and he had chances to throw at the Shrine Game, and he didn't throw at either. And when you have questions about your arm and you're not willing to show your arm when other quarterbacks are showing theirs, the implication is you're confirming that there's an arm strength issue. He'll throw at his pro day, but there won't be other quarterbacks there. So he's kind of like, he's not for everybody. Do I think that it's a chance that Pete Carroll says, yeah, I want that guy? Absolutely. I think that's a chance. Do I think that the New York teams could decide that they need a quarterback regardless? Yeah, I do. But Sam Darnold did not get tagged, or is not going to be tagged by Minnesota. He's going to end up in one of those places. My current bet is he's going to end up with the Raiders. And if he does, that's one less team in the top 10 that would look at Shedeur Sanders. I think that he is going to fall. And by the way, after I said that, there was a number of other reports that came out on ESPN, on NFL Network, on a bunch of other places about Shedeur Sanders falling. So just telling you, like, it's news, but it's not news I particularly care about. I don't think the Seahawks should pick him at 18. If he fell to them at 50, then I'd be interested in, like, having that conversation. But to me, he's not a consideration at 18. Anyway, so that's Shedeur Sanders. They have Shamar Stewart up there. I think that's right. Will Campbell's up there. Wyatt Milam. That is ridiculous. He is not going to be a top 11 pick. So that's wrong. I don't know what's going on with that. Gray Zabel at 16. That's pretty rich. Landon Jackson. I can absolutely see Landon Jackson in Cincinnati, as a matter of fact. So let's do it. By the way, Lance Zierlein released his new mock draft, and he had Matthew Golden going to the Seahawks. That is just something I cannot really see happening. I do not see them picking a wide receiver in the first round, even if they were to, release Tyler Lockett. I just don't see it. I don't see it. This is going to be a 21-12 personnel team with a lot of 2 receiver sets. I just don't think that's going to happen. So here we go. You've got Jahdae Barron. You've got Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren sitting there. Walter Nolan, Nick Emanwari, Kenneth Grant, Jalen Walker available there. Colston Loveland, Malachi Starks, Derek Harmon in some drafts is jumping up. Armand Membu's available. That's just so unrealistic. I want to take Membu, but I'm not going to do it. All right. I'm not going to do it because I just feel like it's not realistic. But you know what? I said that about Byron Murphy last year. I said, it's just, I get so convinced he's not going to fall to the Seahawks. You know what? Screw it. We're taking Armand Membu. We're living the fantasy for a little while longer. Armand Membu is a Seahawk. All right. Now we are at pick 50. I should have traded back, by the way. I absolutely should have traded back, but I haven't really done that yet. So, here we are at pick 50, and you've got Demetrius Knight, quarterback turned linebacker. Really liked him. Azrae Thomas, who the Seahawks met with. Jack Besh, who the Seahawks did not meet with. Donovan Ezeraku. Tate Ratledge. I don't think you go 2 offensive linemen in a row here. Max Hairston, which, by the way, it's just posted online, so hard to say, but there's some pretty concerning stories coming out about Max Hairston in college. So I'm going to skip him. Elijah Arroyo's there. To me, this might be the move. it might be the move to get Elijah Arroyo here in the second round because I don't think he's going to last much past that. Mason Taylor, certainly a smooth moving guy. There's Donovan Jackson. Oh, man. I don't know if I could pass on Donovan Jackson at this point, folks. Like, I really don't know. Let's look at quarterbacks. I think Dart's already gone. I could take Tyler Shuck. Could take Quinn Ewers, but I'm not gonna. Tyler Shuck is still really low in all these. I think he's much higher than this. So here, man, I'm gonna do something because it was visceral. I just could not let it go. I'm going to go ahead and take Donovan Jackson here. I don't know that that's the right move, but man, I just think really highly of this guy. And you've just added two of my favorite offensive linemen with your first two picks. Now, you're in the third round. Omar Norman Lott's there. Elijah Arroyo's still there. And you could go offense with Arroyo. You're not going to see him after this. You could go Carson Schlesinger, linebacker. Interesting. You could go quarterback. Let's take a look at some different position groups here. So, did Tyler? Oh no, Tyler Shuck's still there. So I'm going to take him later because I'm going to cheat on this one. Let it work. Jalen Noel. Jalen Noel may be the move here, guys. Met with the Seahawks, had a fantastic Senior Bowl. 4.39 40, 41.5 vert. Really, really athletic dude. I don't know if I've taken Jalen Noel yet. I'm tempted to do it. So Jalen Noel is a leader in the clubhouse. Elijah Arroyo is the other. And I think between the two of those, it's a tough question. Generally, I think taking tight end over wide receiver is a better choice in this draft. I think the Seahawks are going to use more tight ends. I think they're a little thinner there. But Jalen Noel is a legit dude. Defensive line, I love Omar Norman Lott. I really like Jordan Phillips, Josh Farmer, Darius Alexander. A lot of these guys I like. Edge players, Sevion Jones gets pretty thin on edge pretty quickly. Linebacker, Carson Schlesinger being there is very tempting. There's Kevin Winston Jr. If Nathan's listening, I see you, dude. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take Elijah Arroyo. I think that I'm going to stick with the notion that tight end is a more important position group for this offense than wide receiver, if you've got two already. Okay, so now we are here at pick in the fourth round, and we can start looking at defensive line. Ooh, Darius Alexander is interesting. Josh Farmer is interesting. Big guy, 6'3", 305. He's a interesting mover. I like Darius Alexander. Looking through this list, I mean, I think this could be the place you take a guy like Tyler Shuck. Looking. There's Jonah Monheim. I'm not going to take another offensive lineman, especially this early. All right, so let's check out wide receiver. Yeah. Defensive line. I think you go defensive line. Oh, there's JJ Pegues. I think you take Darius Alexander here. Yeah, I think you take Darius Alexander, and you feel pretty good about that. You got a lot of strong guys on your roster. All right, now we're here in the fifth round, and this is where, yeah, Tyler Shuck is there, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time thinking about it. I'm going to take Tyler Shuck. I think he's one of the better QB prospects in this class, and I think he'll probably be a day 2 guy, but let's take advantage of this and take him in day 3. Then we are here in the 6th round. I'm almost certainly going to take JJ Pegues because he can be your fullback as well, but Upton Stout is there, who I really like. Jalen Reed. How did Jalen Reed test? 6 foot 4'4", 40. That's pretty impressive. 211. Did not do the 3-cone. Yeah, I mean, Jalen Reed's an interesting option. I mean, you do need a safety. You really do. Um, so here's what we're gonna do. Oh, Jack Kaiser is there? Oh gosh. They got him rated too low. Here's what we're gonna do. I think I really want to take JJ Pegues. I really do. But we're gonna take Jalen Reed. Am I gonna be responsible or am I gonna be irresponsible? We're gonna take Jalen Reed. I wish I had the stones just to do exactly what I wanted. All right, so Kaiser's still there. And then Chamari Dyke had a pretty impressive combine. Ran a 4.340. I think he's going to move up some draft boards. I think what we do here is pretty straightforward. Oh, there's Cam Jackson. We've already got a defensive tackle, but I like him as a nose. Darius Alexander's not exactly that, but Jack Kaiser's the pick here. So we're taking Jack Kaiser. I think there's no way he's going to be available this late, but I really like it. And here we are with our last pick in the 7th round. And Isaac Tesla is probably the guy I would go with. Although Miles Frazier's there. Love that guy. Clay Webb is there. Love him. I don't know if I'd take another offensive lineman. Let's see. Anyone else that they've got here that's way undervalued? No. Let's go ahead and we're gonna take Isaac Tesla, who, if you don't know him, 6'4", ran a 4.4340, had remarkable measurables at the Senior Bowl as well. That's who I think we're gonna take. And so our draft is done. Here is who we ended up with. Armand Membu, Donovan Jackson, Elijah Arroyo, Darius Alexander, Tyler Shuck, Jalen Reed, Jack Kaiser, and Isaac Tesla. I mean, talk about getting stronger and tougher. This would be a fantastic draft. I don't believe it's realistic in a couple ways, but I really like the toughness that you added. Like pretty much all these picks, if Jalen Reed was JJ Pegues, I would like it at a fan level, but I think Jalen Reed's the better, smarter pick, and I think has a chance to be a really good safety. So I'm okay with that. All right, let's do a quick switch. And while we do, make sure you give the show a like and click subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. We're going to switch over to NFL Mock Draft Database. We're going to do a draft here. We're going to make it fast. We're going to enter the draft room. And we are going to start. So let's see how this one goes. Definitely gonna look at some trade options in this one. So who picked what? Drafted players. So all these guys are gone. Warren's available. Shamar Stewart's gone. James Pierce is gone. Walter Nolan's gone. Jahdae Barron's gone. Okay, got it. All right, so they've got Armand Membu available as well. I'm telling you, we're not going to do it this time because I really think there's very little chance. I'm going to keep reminding myself about what I said about Byron Murphy last year. I thought there was zero chance he'd slip to the Seahawks, and he did. In this case, we're going to take Tyler Warren. We're going to go throw it back to my first mock draft this year where everyone gave me all sorts of shit for taking a tight end, and I'm going to take one because I think he's a great player, and I think you can get him here. I think he's a great ad. So we're going to take Tyler Warren. I should have remembered to try to trade back. Darn it. All right, it's okay. Here we go at pick 50. Now, this is interesting. I wonder if there's any trade options. Are there any offers? I do not want a 6th round pick. I do not want a 4th round pick. Wow. They're offering the 55th pick, the 86th pick. What? Why would they? Why would they offer all of that? That's just unrealistic. Um, Sorry, I would take that in a second, but there's no way that they would make that offer. All right, so here we are in the second round. Some really interesting names there. I don't think you can go out of the first 2 rounds without taking an offensive lineman, and I think since we took Warren, I think you got to take Donovan Jackson here. I'm not sure he's going to be available in the second round. I think he did so well this week. I think he's going to end up sneaking up towards the first round, maybe even into the first round. Here we are in the third round, and you got Mason Taylor, got Jalen Royals. I'm not quite out on Jordan Birch, but definitely was not impressed. You've got Kevin Winston. They've got all sorts of weird names. Jordan Phillips, I think this is a little early for Jordan Phillips. Olufemi Oladejo, I really like. Kobe Bryant, JJ Pegues. So we're going to go a little bit of a different direction on we don't need a tight end. I think Demetrius Knight is the move here. I think he's the best player on this board. You could talk about Kevin Winston Jr., could talk about quarterback. Let's at least look at the quarterbacks available here. They've got Tyler Shuck really lowly rated. We'll take advantage of that for now. We are going to take Demetrius Knight and put him behind. And in competition, we'll have another Knight. Maybe we'll end up with 2 Kobe Bryants and 2 Knights. 2 Kobe Bryants at corner, no less. Actually, Kobe Bryant really is a safety, but Tyrese Knight and Demetrius Knight can fight it out at linebacker to play next to Ernest Jones. And then next, I really would want to start looking at defensive linemen. Ty Robinson's a great pick here. That's probably where I'll go. Strong player, athletic player. David Walker, I love as an edge. I don't think I love him more than I love Ty Robinson. Miles Frazier, I really like at guard, but I think I couldn't make the case for him after that. Jack Kaiser's available later. People are sleeping on Jack Kaiser. I really feel that way. Willie Lampkin, Josh Gray, I loved his he opened my eyes at the combine. Really like him. So yeah, we're going to just do what I thought we should do here, which is take Mr. Ty Robinson. So now you've got a defensive tackle, strong, athletic defensive tackle. And then come in at pick 173. And David Walker's still there. I mean, I think I take David Walker at this point. I really like him as an edge player. You've already got your linebacker. You could go safety. Jalen Reed's still there. You could go for another offensive lineman, Josh Gray. You got a bunch of guys that I think you can get later, so I don't think you need to do that right now. I go David Walker. Nice edge player, really good kid, very productive at the Senior Bowl. I think that's a good ad right there. And then let's look at quarterback. Let's look at quarterback here a little bit later. Let's take I really like Kyle McCord's game, but I have to say, like, seeing him in person, it was not impressive. Like, he does not have quarterback vibes. Tyler Shuck has quarterback vibes. I'm going to take Tyler Shuck again. He's kind of my go-to quarterback selection this year. And then we're down to our final couple of picks. Jalen Reed's still there. Done. Let's take Jalen Reed. Makes sense at safety. I don't think that's realistic. He'll be available that late, but fine. All right. And so then Jake Majors as a center is an option. I really like Jack Nelson as a swing tackle. That might be the move. Jimmy Horn at receiver would be a great final pick here. Who else? RJ Oben I liked. We already kind of took one of the edge guys. Looking through Nick Martin. Jabbar Muhammad I love at corner. We have not taken a corner, so I could definitely... Zoff Frazier. We're taking Zoff Frazier. I'm not even see anybody else. I love Zoff Frazier, his length at corner, his speed. Easy choice in the 7th round. Here's what we got there. Tyler Warren, tight end. Donovan Jackson. Love those first 2 picks. Absolutely get much tougher on your offense. Demetrius Knight, one of my favorite, maybe my favorite inside linebacker in this class. To give you some depth at the linebacker spot. Ty Robinson. You know, if I could make a switch, maybe I would go defensive line over linebacker early, but I don't think, you know, you'd end up with Jack Kaiser or maybe Jeffrey Bassa if you did that. I think that's okay. But I love Ty Robinson, strong player. David Walker, I think, is a really productive edge guy. He's going to be great in the locker room. Tyler Shuck, I've told you about. Jalen Reed, we talked about. And Zoff Frazier, he's like a Reek Woolen. I think he's a really good kid and a good player. So what do you think about that draft? Curious what you guys think about that one. Again, these are all just different mocks, different sims, and they all have their different preferences. So let's do one more mock, and then I'm gonna let you guys go so I can. I'm hard on my health right now. I got to get back in better shape. So gonna go do my workout and get my breakfast and all that. But let's do one more mock. See how this one falls. This is NFL. This is Pro Football Network. So last one was NFL Mock Draft Database. They got Shedeur Sanders going number 1. Not gonna happen. All right. Ashton Jeanty. I don't know if I mean, I think he's a top 10 player. I don't think he's going to go that high. Will Campbell to the 49ers, I think, is realistic. Tyler Warren gone. Kelvin Banks gone. All right, so here we are at 18. I am out on Tyler Booker as a first-round pick. I'm sorry. I am. His physicals, like his measurables, spook me. And I think you got to be real careful with first-round picks. Membu's available in this one as well. I'm just not going to do it because I just don't think it's realistic. I love Derek Harmon. I honestly don't think this would be crazy. We're going to go probably Nick Emenwari with this one. And I'm glad to see, at least in this one, he's moved up the charts quite a bit. I'm going to scroll down just to see if there's anyone crazy that I'm missing. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to look first at trade options, because I keep forgetting to do that. I don't want to go to 35. No. All right. So we're going to stick and pick, and we are going to take Nick Emenwari. Done. Blue chip. Love the guy. We'll see what happens here. All right. Let's see what choices we've got here. No, I don't want next year picks. This isn't not going to happen. All right. Good news, at least in some ways, for this simulator. Donovan Jackson does not last to us in the 2nd round, which I don't think he should. But Shamar Stewart's there. That's crazy. But remember what I said. If you have to take an offensive lineman in the first 2 rounds. You just have to. I get not pushing up need in the 1st round. I think you got to do it in the 2nd round. But man, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of these guys left. Do I play the dangerous game? I mean, if Walter Nolan or Shamar Stewart's there, I'm taking them. I just am. But I just think it's so unrealistic that I am not going to do it. So let's keep looking. I think what I will do here is take Mr. Ratledge, who interestingly did not do the bench press. That was the thing I wanted to see because I have some strength questions with him. Interesting. Let's see. There's an interesting trade offer from the rival Rams. All right, so far we've taken Uchenna Nwosu and Tate Ratledge. I think you got to start looking at defensive line. Let's take a look at defensive tackles. TJ Sanders, really good player. I'm just weight-wise, I'm not sure he's the right fit. Is that what he... TJ Sanders profile. I thought he was... What did he weigh in at? I thought he was like in the 280s. 297. All right. He did not do the 40. You know what? I could talk myself into TJ Sanders. You got Darius Alexander. You got Jordan Phillips, who I really like. Edge players. Don't love those guys at this point in the draft. There's plenty of linebackers left. You got corners and safeties. Let's look at the offensive lineman. Luke Cander's a name to keep in mind. Had the highest number, bench press 33, and is actually a very good zone blocker. Jared Wilson's there. Do we risk not getting Jared Wilson till later, or do we pair him with Tate Ratledge? Do we risk it, guys? Next pick's at 137. We do not risk it. We could take the deal from the Rams. Let's take this deal. Let's take this deal. Let's see how it feels. So who got picked in between? All right, we're good. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take Jared Wilson. I love this guy. Pairing him with Tate Ratledge is kind of like pairing Jared Verse with Braden Fisk last year. Like taking the teammates, keeping them together, instant chemistry. I love it. But it's left us without any defensive linemen, which is not great. So here we are in the 4th round. Darius Alexander's there. Jordan Phillips is there. We haven't done Jordan Phillips yet. I really like Jordan Phillips. Let me see how did he test? How did he test at the combine? Profile. Let's see. Is this the right? Yeah, this is the right guy. 6'2", 312 pounds. He did not do the 40. Had a 31-inch vertical, 9-foot broad. I mean, he's a guy I really like. I think he's got a lower ceiling than Darius Alexander. Jamari Caldwell is there. You could take him. David Walker, again, I really like him at edge. We've not taken a tight end. We're going to take Terrence Ferguson right here. I like Terrence Ferguson. I thought he had a good combine, and I think that's a good pick right there. Okay, so we still have our choice here of Jordan Phillips or Jamari Caldwell. Savion Jones is a good pick there. I'm just gonna go with Jordan Phillips. I really liked meeting him, and if you haven't had a chance to watch the video of him, he's fantastic. All right, so round five. Where would I go here? So far we've got Uchenna Nwosu, the safety, Tate Ratledge, the guard, Jared Wilson, the center, Terrence Ferguson, tight end, and Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle. We're not going to take another center, even though I like Jonah Monheim. Aeneas Peebles is still there. I'm not sure he's the right fit size-wise. Cam Jackson definitely is interesting. Clay Webb. I don't know if I can make the case to take another guard. It's a little early. Let's take Olufemi Oladejo. Yeah, we have not taken an edge yet. I really like him. Done. All right. And here we are in round 6. And looking through the names here, there's Willie Lampkin. We are taking Willie Lampkin, almost certainly. Although Jalen Travis is really appealing. Ooh, let's see. Jalen Travis, just so you guys know, he had an insane combine. This guy is 6'8", 339 pounds with 35-inch arms. And at 340 pounds, he ran a 5.1440 with a 1.8 split. He had a 35-inch vert and did 26 reps on the bench. Guy is incredible athlete. But I was really excited to add Willie Lampkin to the list, so I think we're going to do it anyway. I like where he could end up for the Seahawks. Let's go ahead and do it. I think it'll be fun. Guy that could be on offense, offensive line. He also could be end up being a fullback. Final pick, I believe. Oh, Tyler Hamilton's still there. My goodness. I mean, that's you got to do that pretty much. I don't think it's at all realistic. Baron Sorrell at edge. You've not got added corner or safety, which I don't love. Tyler Shuck's there. That's just not realistic, so I'm not going to do that. Caleb Rogers, I like him as a, but you got so many offensive linemen, you can't go again there. Let's see. Scrolling. Arian Smith, Kyle Williams. Definitely gets a little thin here at the end. Thor Griffith, I think we've got enough there. Let's go and look specifically at cornerbacks. It's picked pretty clean. Safeties. Picked pretty clean. Linebacker. Picked pretty clean. So, yeah. You might, in this case, I mean, I'm not going to take Ty Robinson because it's, or Ty Hamilton. Oh, Ty Hamilton. That's not Ty Robinson. Never mind. That's why. I'm going to take, Trevor Etienne, a guy who I think just really fits with the type of offense they're going to run. And this is the draft class. Nick Emenwari at safety. Now, again, we had a safety, so I didn't really need to be looking at safeties. But Tate Ratledge and Jared Wilson, I love that combination. Terrence Ferguson at tight end. Jordan Phillips, Olufemi Oladejo, Willie Lampkin, Trevor Etienne. One of the things I really like about this class is you've got a bunch of great guys like Ratledge, Wilson, Ferguson, Phillips, Oladejo, all like these are going to be guys that just come in and are pros and how they approach things. Emenwari is a dog. I love how he adds that kind of persona to the defense and is a blue chip player, potential to be one at least. And then Willie Lampkin is going to have a chip on his shoulder, and I think he can come in and be someone pretty excellent. So I'm curious, which of the drafts did you guys like best? The first one was Membu, Donovan Jackson, Elijah Arroyo, Darius Alexander, Tyler Shuck, Jalen Reed, Jack Kaiser, and Isaac Tesla. Next was Tyler Warren, the tight end, Donovan Jackson, Demetrius Knight, Ty Robinson, David Walker, Tyler Shuck, Jalen Reed, and Za Frazier. And then this one, Nick Emenwari, Tate Ratledge, Jared Wilson, Terrence Ferguson, Jordan Phillips, Olufemi Oladejo, Willie Lampkin, and Trevor Etienne. Which one speaks to you guys? Which one do you guys like best? I mean, the first one for me, if you get Armand Membu, it's just a great draft. I just don't think it's going to happen. But if you got Membu and Jackson, holy moly, talk about upgrading the offensive line. Massive. But honestly, I kind of liked all three. I liked the way it went. And there's a lot of options out there. I think they're growing in number as we get to know these guys more. I'm going to try to get some of these guys on the show as guests. Tomorrow will be a great chance to talk with Dane Brugler. And guess what? We may have Jonas Avenaya on the show tomorrow. Just got an email. I'm going to see if I can work that out. So keep an eye out. Try to have him on. That would be great. So lots more to come. If there is breaking Seahawks news, you will hear from me about it. But until then, make sure you give the show a like, click subscribe, and we'll be back. We'll be back real soon. Appreciate everybody. Let me make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Oh my gosh, I did miss some super chats. Italian Knight has given away 50 Hawk Blogger memberships. Unbelievable. And Bryce Coots gives away another 10. So that is, my gosh, 70 free memberships given out. People should enjoy those. Hopefully that is a lot of fun for everybody here. Until you hear me next, I'm Brian Emhauser. This has been 344 straight days of Hawk Blogger Mornings. Take care, y'all.